Every so often I'm contacted by people who are committing or considering suicide, and it's a welcome correspondence and also a challenging one. Welcome in terms of the fact that I, as a human being, I'm grateful for the chance to communicate with someone who might be in such dire straits and maybe help them to prevent leaving us. Challenging, of course, because I'm a layman myself, untrained and unschooled in such things, and can really offer next to nothing. Um, my, but I'm going to try because I don't know what else to do. So I think what I should say is, and I was today contacted by someone like this, and what I should say, of course, is by way of disclaimer, is if you're seriously thinking about this, if it's really the thoughts are going through your mind, and the person that wrote to me, based on your past actions, it seems that this may indeed be the case, then please seek out some help from someone who can offer you um, better words than I and advice, and because sometimes these things can be treated in some way. Sometimes there's a medical condition. I'm sure you're aware of these types of things, and if that's the case, then by all means we need to address that. By we I mean you. We in terms of, I use the word we in terms of I'm here to chat with you and to support you and say you know don't leave yet. You'll be gone soon enough. We all will. Stick around till the end if you can, as long as you can. My own experience, I have had experience with medication in the past, years ago for depression, and I remember how it affected me. It really did have a dramatic effect on me, and I chose to leave the medication because it robbed me of, I thought it robbed me of something else that I wanted, and I chose to go back. So, but I wasn't suicidal. I was just having trouble staying positive. Um, in my own recent experience, so I know medication can have a dramatic effect, and the way the doctor described it to me, it seemed to make a lot of sense. And even my own experience recently with diet change, whereas for 48 years of my life I've been a moody, up and down person, sometimes unable to control my emotional swings, and it's hard for the people that are in my life sometimes to when I'm like that. Maybe that's part of the reason why I spend so much time out in the mountains to protect people from me. But in the last couple of weeks, the diet changes that I've gone through Molly's counseling and through what I've been reading online and just discovering on my own experimentation have shown me that basically that's gone. Those mood swings are gone. I'm at an even keel now. Basically, it's because of a healthier diet, really no longer consuming processed foods. I don't eat bread anymore. I rarely eat rice. I eat mostly fruits and vegetables. I do eat oatmeal, and I eat whatever my wife cooks for dinner. She cooks great Japanese food, and I eat whatever the school provides me for lunch, which are great, well-balanced meals, organized by a nutritionist. So it seems to be working, and I eat 6 times a day or 7 times a day, 6 or 7 small meals a day instead of 3, and it's made all the difference. Other than that, from a medical or a dietary perspective, otherwise, what are my thoughts about that? Because you asked me my thoughts. My thoughts are that suicides are not fleeing the world they're living in. They're fleeing the experience in their own minds of the world that is going on around them. Of course, that's the case. I mean, the world out here exists in here, by virtue of the input from our senses. But witness the case a few years back here in Japan of a family. It's a real true story. Family who was in dire straits financially. Father, mother, and their 2 small children. They had a beautiful. They had it all. They had a beautiful, nice high-rise apartment. They call it a mansion here in Japan. Anything over 3 floors is a mansion. Nice car. Kids are going to a good school. They had it all. Something happened. I don't know the details. Something happened, and they were about to lose it all. And instead of suffering basically the consequences of maybe the shame of having lost it all. Maybe have to move back with the family, give up the car, take the kids out of the school, all that kind of stuff. And I've gone through this type of thing myself, where, riding high and then finding myself suddenly back on the streets. It's happened to me. I know how painful it is. I know how desperate it is. And I know that Japan is a difficult place to do that. You don't get second chances, really. But so what they did in that case, it's hard to believe, the husband and the wife sat down and had a conference together, and they decided that the best course of action would be for the husband to murder her, and then kill the children, and then throw himself off the building and kill himself. And that's exactly what happened. So the police found him on the ground and went upstairs and discovered the whole scene. And really, the thing that there's a tragedy beyond words. But really, what really stuck out in that story for me when I heard that story was when I read that story. In addition to the tragedy, was the reality that what they were escaping was the shame of failure, so to speak. From at least if I can gather from what the information I had. I don't know the whole picture, of course. But the shame of failure, the shame of having to come to their family and their friends and the school and everybody and say, look, we failed, so to speak, quote unquote, failed at life, and we're going to have to give up all of these trappings of success and go live a simpler life. And they were ashamed, were probably worried about how other people would perceive them if that was the case, or maybe they. But consider how much more terrible the perception is from what they actually did. But it doesn't matter. The consequence doesn't matter, because that consequence doesn't matter because they're gone. They don't have to feel it themselves. So what they were really escaping was the perception of what the world outside thinks of them and experiences. So suicide seems to me, from my simplistic, uneducated point of view, an escape from what's in here. And not so much the consequences around you. I mean, we know that people can survive and even get by and even be happy in destitute situations. I mean, there's been studies that shown that some of the ratio of, I know it's going to sound simplistic to say this, but some of the happiest countries in the world, in terms of, I can't describe what kind of standards they use, but in terms of happiness, are some of the poorest countries in the world. I don't know exactly why that is, and some of the most miserable are some of the richest. It's a curious thing. But so even if, as long as you're not a terrible person, as long as you're not, a serial killer murdering babies, murdering people, or defrauding old little ladies out of their their fixed income, stuff like that. Then if it's just trial and accident and mistake, and maybe the silliness of your own personality, like my own personality is so silly and difficult sometimes. If that's all it is, then find a way to deal with that. I mean, it's easy for me to say find a way, but I mean, I've been there myself. I mean, to find a way. In my case, it was basically bringing my blood sugar under control, so that my mind could be in control of things, and not my blood sugar causing these spikes and depressions in my depression in terms of the chemistry in my body. And I've got it under control, and it's an amazing thing. Maybe you, the person who wrote to me, and I won't give your name away, but I'm sure you would prefer your privacy. And anyone else who happens to see that, you have that choice too. And if you leave, well, what next? For me, there's nothing beyond. It's just over, and it's going to be over soon enough. In a flash, in a moment, it'll all be gone. I'm 48, and I can't believe how I got here. I still feel like I'm 18 in here. Just this is all changed. If you're young and you're feeling this way, you'll be like me before you know it. I've had a lot of hard times, but relatively speaking, people in this world, suffering beyond what I could ever imagine. But I've had a lot of hard times, but I've had a lot of great times, and I'm glad for them. And I don't think I'll get to take any of them with me, but for whatever it's worth, I'm here. It's an astonishing thing. And I've got these digits, and I've got these eyes, and just senses all around me, and a capacity to think and share and enjoy and have pleasure and enjoy. Well, this is a non-alcohol beer, but I can even enjoy that. It's 0.000, but I can even enjoy that too. Why don't you stick with us? If you're lonely, this is a tricky one for me. because loneliness is something I don't know. I've never felt that, so it's kind of an unusual, a strange thing. But if you're lonely, if you're alone, and you have a hard time with people, what I would suggest is that you look at yourself and ask yourself, well, maybe it's not other people, and I don't mean to point fingers, but really that may be the case. There was a time in my life when I was in high school that I was I don't know how, I don't need to put labels or anything like that. I had a personality that was not the most friendly or amicable. I mean, I was a nice guy, a nice enough guy, but there were some things about me that were not so social in terms of it made people uncomfortable around me. And I remember sitting on the school bus riding home. I had this long commute, like an hour, back and forth from the place we lived in the country, sitting on the school bus wondering why this one girl had kind of, it wasn't a date type of thing. It was just she didn't even want to talk to me, and I was trying to think about it. And I realized that it was me, that it was the way that I was communicating with her, the way that I was choosing to basically what I was doing was seeing the negative things and pointing out errors that were stupid, silly things. It's like being nitpicky about the grammar or facts, having facts right, or just anything. And that was the way I was choosing to communicate. It wasn't that I cared about that so much, but that's how I communicated. It was like an adversarial type of thing, and you wouldn't see it in me now. I mean, I'm not like that at all anymore, and it's because I had that revelation on the bus. Banging along on the bus, leaning against the window, kind of feeling down because that girl didn't want to talk to me. And it was, like I said, it wasn't a date thing, it was just a social thing. It was like, she didn't want to be my friend. Why not? And I realized it's because I wasn't being a friendly person. I wasn't the kind of person that people wanted to be a friend with. Another thing I did was I talked too much. Well, that's paid off now as a vlogger. But I talked too much back then. I didn't give other people a chance to say anything. And when I did, when they did, I went after them for errors and in particular, I can't get the word out, particulars that just weren't right. And I realized at that moment, I need to have a dialogue. It has to be a dialogue type of thing. And I have to give them a chance to talk. And if I don't have something nice to say, I shouldn't say anything at all. And I shouldn't offer corrections for mistakes unless it's going to cause them to if they're going down the road and if I'm driving, I'm the passenger in a car, and I was a backseat driver at that time, and a passenger in the car, and I thought I knew how to get to where we were going to go faster. I would backseat drive or side street drive my friend to where they were going. Or if I saw them going along and I thought they were going to miss the off-ramp, I would say, hey, you're missing the off-ramp. I stopped doing that because I realized it doesn't matter, because it irked me when people did that to me. I thought maybe it irks other people when I do that to them. Just let it go. Let them, if whoever's driving, let them go the way they're going to go. And if it seems that they're lost and I can ask, do you need any help? Or if they ask me for help, then I'll offer them help. If they go one street past, who cares? We'll go around the block and go back again. Just let it all go. And that's made all the world of difference. Now I'm able to have friends because I listen to my friends and I try to engage listen to what they say in their conversation and pick up on it and solicit more information from them about it, and then don't fret the small stuff. If the left turn, if not turning left at the corner of the head is going to cause them to drive off a cliff up there, then by all means say, hey, stop, turn left, you're going to fall off a cliff. But otherwise, just go around the block, let it go. I don't know what the case is with other people, but maybe look at yourself. Maybe there's something about you, your communication style, or the way that you choose to engage, the way your dialogues that you hold that may be part of this. I could be way off base, but if you're lonely, I can tell you, if you can become a friend of the kind of person that is friendly and that people want to be with, one that's not antagonistic or aggressive or challenging, or unless the conditions want that. I mean, sometimes that's what happens. I mean, I have friends that sometimes we go into debate mode, but it's a mode. It's not our normal operation way of being. Unless you find somebody that likes that, then that's good too. I mean, you all the time. You get what I mean? You know what I mean? If that's the case, maybe you can find, revise yourself. just like I revised myself when I was in high school, and just like I revised myself mentally as a junior in high school, and I revised myself physically this year with my new diet and managing my blood sugar, and maybe that'll help. And if not, then maybe it's time to seek some professional help. And in any case, I hope you stick with us, whoever hears this, as long as possible, because the time will come when we'll all be gone, and nobody will even remember us anymore, except we'll have the time that we had together while we're here, for whatever that's worth. And I think it's worth something. So I'm going to sign off. Thanks for listening.